Ikki is a young boy, kind-hearted, but his family didn't see it that way. They looked at him and saw a letdown. He was born into the Courage family, a lineage famous for its magic and its power. All of them were gifted, all except for Ikki. He couldn't use magic, not a single spark. As soon as they found out, they turned their backs on him. They made him feel invisible. But Ikki was too young, he didn't know how to deal with this painful and depressing reality. So, he decides to leave, to escape from his family. He finds himself wandering, lost in a mountain snowstorm until he falls. He thinks, this is it, the end of his journey. He has no food, no shelter, and nowhere to go. Should he go back and suffer, or should he accept his end right here? But fate has other plans. Ryuma, the legendary samurai, the hero of Japan, and Ikki's own great-grandfather, finds him. He tells Ikki, don't quit, don't give in. Ryuma knows about Ikki's struggle with magic, so he does something different. He teaches Ikki about the sword, about the samurai ways. A new path opens for Ikki, a path of honor and courage, not magic and power. That's when Ikki makes a promise, right then and there. He's going to be strong, just like his grandfather, just like Ryuma. He's going to make his own destiny. Years of training go by, and then the moment of truth. He was accepted into the Magic Knights Academy. His strict training finally paid off, all his blood, sweat, and tears. It was all for this moment. In Ikki's world, people can transform souls into weapons, and the people wielding them are called Mage Knights. Ikki spends 2 years in the academy, but magic doesn't come to him easily. Everyone calls him the failure knight, his grades are below average, and his family makes sure of that. They control the academy and do everything to stop him from becoming a knight. But Ikki still has the talent for something else, the sword. They call him the secret sword god, the best in the school. Still, the Kurogane family refuses to admit his worth. They pressured the school to hold Ikki back a year, all because of a direct factor on their payroll. But things changed, a new director stepped in and sets a new rule. Knights aren't just about magic anymore, it's about ability and fighting skills. It's about fairness. The new director, Kurano, cleans the house, gets rid of the staff siding with Ikki's family, and makes him a promise. If he wins the school tournament, he will graduate as a magic knight. But the first opponent Ikki's got to cross, it's Kirihara, the same one that left him humiliated last year. Not because Kirihara was better, but because it was all a scheme hatched by Ikki's own family, a plan executed by the old director, looking for any excuse to expel Ikki. The director told Kirihara to bully Ikki, and if he even fights the bully back, he's out. That same rule dictated the terms of last year's tournament. Ikki doesn't take this lying down though. This year, he dives into videos of Kirihara's fights and studies his every move. He knows he's up against the ropes, facing his worst enemy. He's got everything to prove and the world to convince. When the fight begins, it's Kirihara who's bathed in the spotlight, the crowd chanting his name. But Ikki isn't intimidated, he knows this fight is more than just physical. He's a tactician, adapting on the fly. But this time around, he's squaring off against a specialist in invisible magic, Kirihara. In his eyes, his worst type of opponent. As the battle begins, the stage transforms into a digital forest. Kirihara goes on the offensive with his skill, the hunter of the forest. It's a dance of evasion and sudden attacks. Kirihara firing off arrows from unseen corners. Ikki doesn't let up though, he deflects the onslaught, pinpoints the origins of those arrows, and charges headfirst into the fray. But Kirihara's got a trick up his sleeve. His arrows go invisible. Now Ikki's blind, and the hits just keep on coming. He's frustrated, he's mad, and the crowd? They're laughing, calling him a rank F. They say he doesn't stand a chance in the tournament. But Ikki takes that mockery and turns it into motivation. He's not just in this fight to win, he's here to prove them all wrong. Ikki gets back on his feet and starts remembering the rhythm of Kirihara's shots, the precise speed, the distinct sequence. He makes mental notes and times the travel of each invisible arrow. And now he's ready to counter, even when the arrows vanish in thin air. The announcer pipes up and explains to the crowd, Ikki's got a trick of his own. It's blade steel, a unique ability. He observes his opponent, breaks down their techniques, then refines them with his masterful swordsmanship. He just needs a minute to understand the basics and a few more seconds to surpass it. He can even replicate the most powerful techniques. But this time, he's pulling something even more profound, perfect vision. He calls it. It's a skill that lets him dive into Kirihara's thoughts and predict his strategy before it's even set into motion. Suddenly, the tables are turned. Ikki's not just a player in this forest, he's the hunter. Kirihara sees it, he feels it, the tables are turning, the fear creeping in. He begs and pleads for Ikki to spare him. In a last-ditch effort, he throws a desperate move, then falls to his knees, begs for the fight to end, extending his friendship. But Ikki, he's already in motion, his finishing move. It's fierce, creates a massive explosion. But his control, it's perfect. His blade stops just as it grazes Kirihara's face. And that's how he won the first round of the tournament. The competition continues, with Ikki on fire, 12 quick wins one after the other. The weakest in school is unstoppable. However, a change happens just as Ikki is heading home. The ethics committee, a puppet of his very own Kurogane family, starts creating a new plot against Ikki. The puppeteer is Akaza, a family member who holds no love for Ikki. He creates a scandal out of thin air, capturing a moment in a photo. Ikki and Stella, a princess from a far-off empire, locked in a kiss on the school grounds. Suddenly, there's Akaza, extending an invitation for Ikki to clear his name. But it is a trap. Ikki finds himself not in a conversation but behind bars, in a prison maintained by the Courage family. Within these cold walls, Akaza's interrogations come in waves, unending. They barely give Ikki any food, and even worse, they try to poison him. Yet, despite these grim conditions, Ikki is still forced to fight in the selection matches, right from his dark cell. The odds are against him, but Ikki, true to his willpower, keeps fighting and winning. Then, after his hard-won 16th victory, he collapses. His only request in this dire state, to meet his father, a request that, to everyone's surprise, is granted. In the quiet conversation with his father, the latter urges him to step back from the selection process. His father fears that if Ikki wins, it could inspire those without magic to aim high and destabilize his organization. Tears carve lines down Ikki's face. His father doesn't see him as a failure, but he refuses to acknowledge his son's strength. So Ikki fights on, etching victories till the count reaches 19. Then the ethics committee delivers the final blow. His ultimate opponent in the final is the student council president, Tuka, the strongest student in the academy. If he loses this battle, his dream of becoming a magic knight is over. As the day of the final school selection match arrives, the anticipation builds up like an electric charge. This is the battle the world has been waiting for, set to be broadcasted to every corner of the globe. Ikki vs Tuka, a matchup worth watching. Among the spectators, Akaza marks his presence, watching the unfolding drama with a hawk's eye. Then a curveball, Akaza announces that Ikki faces disqualification if he fails to appear in the arena within the next 15 minutes. Confusion spreads like wildfire. The principal can't make sense of it. After all, it was Akaza who was supposed to bring Ikki to the arena. But his actions are no accident. He fears the possibility of an Ikki victory, so he decides to keep him locked away. Meanwhile, Ikki's battle is already underway. The prison bars can't hold him, and he flees. The final school selection match is calling. Despite the weakness that creeps through his body, the self-doubt starts whispering in his ear. Will he make it on time? Can he defeat the most formidable opponent in the academy? Just as the odds seem insurmountable, hope appears. His great-grandfather emerges, giving him the courage and strength to take every single next step. Re-energized, Ikki breaks free. As he steps into the arena, cheers of the academy wash over him. He made it. It's time for the final face-off. Ikki and Tuka standing opposite each other in the arena. Feel a rush of exhilaration. They've been waiting for this moment since they first saw each other. Ikki plunges right into the action. He unleashes Ito Sura, his most powerful skill. The crowd gasps, taken aback by this unexpected maneuver. Ito Sura is a beast of a technique. It requires Ikki to pull together every ounce of his energy, dismissing his instinct for self-preservation. During one adrenaline-filled minute, he manages to get a power beyond comprehension. No sooner does Ikki reveal his move than Tuka responds. She fires up her Reikiri, an electromagnetic technique. She constructs a potent magnetic field around her sword using her lightning ability. Then, with a swift, precise move, she counters the enemy in a lethal blow. Both stand their ground. Each has a purpose, a cause they fight for. When she unleashes Reikiri at its full force, her vision starts to blur. Ikki knows he's outmatched, yet he charges forward. He takes a gamble, condensing the force of Ito Sura into one explosive second. It's a move his body cannot bear. The surge of power is so intense it makes his eyes, nose, and mouth bleed. But it doesn't slow him down. His body might be breaking, muscles ripping apart, but his willpower pushes him on. He's not just fighting with his body now, it's his unyielding spirit that pushes him forward. The crowd watches with bated breath as their powers collide. And then the unimaginable happens. Tuka's sword shatters under the weight of Ikki's singular blow, and she falls to the ground, defeated. Against all odds, Ikki stands